With the latest additions from brands like LG, which also currently holds our best OLED TV, that's the G4, there really are only a few brand OLED contenders like Sony and Samsung that are actually recommendable. This also applies if you plan to stick to a more mid-range price or you don't want to burn a massive $4,000 for any TV model. In this video, I'll run you down through the top 6 best OLED TVs minding each inch sizes, connectivity options, and most importantly, what OLED gives the best contrast ratios. And as always, you'll find all links of the specific TVs mentioned in the video in the description below that are constantly updated to the best prices. But without much talk, let's go ahead and get started. Number 5. Samsung S90C, the best value. If you're looking for a TV that's not the best of the best flagship, and especially for a big screen size, the Samsung S90C is what you can consider as a great value for what you invest in. That also applies if you don't want to pay a much higher price tag for a bigger model. It's also the thinnest on this list, like really thin. That makes it blend in like just a frame on your wall. And since it uses a QD OLED panel, it produces this bright, vibrant colors and deep blacks, perfect if you are going to use it for most movie nights. And with that, its bezels are almost non-existent, a design that Samsung typically uses to maximize your viewing area without making the screen dominate the room. The screen also comes with a glossy finish that has an anti-reflective coating, which does a fantastic job of reducing the intensity of reflections, so you won't have any trouble using this TV in bright rooms. And even if you have a wide seating arrangement, you won't have any issues with the viewing angle. The internal speakers are also surprisingly good, with solid bass and clear vocals suitable for medium rooms. But again, it's always best to pair it with a soundbar if you truly want to have an immersive audio experience. And when it comes to gaming, the TV can as well do 4K at 144 Hz with 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs, but it also supports variable refresh rate to reduce screen tearing, and it's fully compatible with PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. The only thing this Samsung model doesn't have is Dolby Vision HDR gaming that you could otherwise get with Sony models, and might be a downside for some gamers. But still, you get Samsung's HDR10 Plus support, a version that I personally think doesn't make that big of a difference. Bottom line, the 90C just makes a lot of sense for this price, especially if you're looking for much bigger inch size units, but you're not ready to pay the premium price tags for other high-end models. And coming in at number 4 is the LG C3 series, best budget for 42-inch and best LG value. The LG C3 is now one of the only few OLED TVs that can either be placed on a very mid-range level or a more budget option, and that's if compared to more expensive TVs from LG's lineup. It's also not that old since it was released back in 2023, and of course as newer LG models roll in, it was bound to become much cheaper, and even better if you find it on sale. In fact, compared to its predecessor, the LG C2, the C3 is now weirdly much cheaper on Amazon, with price starting at $790 for the 42-inch, compared to the $850 for the C2. And of course, with the said 4K resolution, the content looks amazing. The colors are vivid and accurate, and to be fair, most of this is just due to OLED not needing a backlight because each individual pixel is lit instead. And probably the best feature is that you get the LG's WebOS, which comes with almost every app you could think of, and many of them specifically made for LG TVs, which are super responsive and load very quickly. You get the usual assortment of features, including 3 USB ports for accessories or attaching external storage drives, and also all 4 of the HDMI ports, which are the new 2.1 standard. This just means you can plug any HDMI 2.1 capable console or computer into any of the HDMI ports and get the full 4K 120Hz experience, provided you're using a proper HDMI 2.1 cable. And a really big target audience LG was aiming with this TV is obviously gamers, since the panel itself has gaming-oriented features baked in like FreeSync and G-Sync, and a 120Hz refresh rate, but even more importantly, a 1 millisecond response time. And even if you go for a smaller inch, this TV just has better overall gaming experience than most small inch gaming monitors right now. Given that you also get a ton of customizable options, especially during gaming, that can show the current FPS, for example, check the variable refresh rate, or even if low latency settings are turned on. And since it's more of a newer model, you won't have to worry as much of burn-in OLED issues, since LG has consistently improved their panel technology over the years. To finish off, I just think this is an overall fantastic TV. Just beyond being really good at gaming, and also being able to produce extreme natural colors, it's just bright enough for most people who want to binge watch any shows or movies at any time of the day. It's a TV that leans more on the high end with its picture quality, and honestly a deal with these prices, and even better when on sale. Number 3. Sony XR A95L, Best Premium OLED from Sony. The Sony A95L is a perfect example of what could feel like the best premium experience you can get from any OLED, and also the best OLED you could get from Sony right now. The biggest and probably what's the most impressive trait of the Sony is that it's got the brightest arrays than any of its previous QD OLEDs from 2022, and makes it even more accurate without any calibration. And this is greatly due to the Sony's cognitive processor XR, which just processes image even better and upscales your content even if it's streamed at a lower resolution. And like all OLEDs, it has a near infinite contrast ratio for deep inky blacks that makes it well suited for darkroom viewing, and a great choice for those who often watch their shows and movies at night. There's also no blooming around bright objects thanks to the self-emissive pixels, so you won't see halos around subtitles or bright highlights. This attention to detail is what makes it special compared to other competitive models. The A95L is excellent for gaming too. It has a refresh rate of 120 Hz with 4K and supports HDMI 4M VRR and G-Sync, but not FreeSync, though this could only be an issue for older AMD graphics card. And for the first time, Sony supports Dolby Vision gaming up to 120 Hz, thanks to the latest Pentonic chipset inside. And with 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, you can fully utilize your Xbox Series X or PS5. It also has near instantaneous response time, minimal brightness drops in game mode, and very low input lag, although not as low as competitors like the G4 and S95D. There are some places this is even better than the G4, especially in processing, but its price is just what cuts it down a ton. But if you can afford it, and you were looking for one of the best premium OLEDs, it's a purchase you can't really regret. However, if you wanted a much cheaper alternative that also uses a QD OLED panel, the Samsung S95C on our list is a solid choice, only that it has much less impressive processing. And coming in at number 2 is the Samsung S95D OLED, Best from Samsung. The latest and probably what is the best unit from Samsung is this S95D, and if you tend to have a bright room or in a more lighted setup, the S95D is mostly geared to be the option that's for most people. And since it uses a QD OLED panel, which means it can fundamentally produce higher color purity and a slightly wider color gamut with better saturation in very bright colors than even a WRGB OLED TV. So it's very accurate in producing almost all colors and very stunning at that. Of course, the G4 does the same thing, and even slightly better, so I would really say this is a huge rival of the G4 as of now, and honestly, a really strong alternative to the LG flagship this year. Though some people might prefer the glossy screen on the G4 than the anti-glare on the S95D. The audio on this is as well very punchy, crisp, and dynamic, so it can perfectly do without a soundbar. Though for a really immersive experience, pairing it with a soundbar will take it to a whole new level. The built-in Tizen OS is also loaded with streaming apps, so it's easy to find the newest TV shows you want to watch, and it also has very good low-resolution upscaling and does a decent job upscaling low-quality content just in case you watch DVDs or low-quality streams. And for gaming, features like low input lag and a high refresh rate are there, so gaming on this is nothing short of epic. And Samsung is also always a step ahead with the motion interpolation feature they include when gaming, and with much more frame skipping than most flagship OLEDs. The One Connect box itself also hosts all of the TV's ports, except for the power connector alongside a USB 2.0 port, which is such a handy addition to this OLED. But unfortunately, like all other Samsung TVs, the S95D doesn't pass through any DTS audio formats. Likewise, no Dolby Vision, but the HDR10 content is as good as it can get. And unless you specifically want what's the best from Samsung this year, the S95D does have some strong alternatives, especially on the cheaper side with models like the S90C. But still, the image and contrast quality on the S95D is exceptional, and it really is the best in what's the premium choice from Samsung as of now. And taking our top spot is the LG G4 Evo, the best overall OLED. The LG G4 earns more than every penny you spend on it, and it's what has currently one of the best and most accurate pictures from any of the competitive OLEDs this year. And because it has the OLED Evo technology that features a micro lens array panel, it delivers these vibrant, punchy OLED images with exceptional brightness and color accuracy, particularly noticeable in HDR content as well as supporting Dolby Vision, which just takes it to a whole new level. It also allows you to override all those HDR parameters a bit so that you can raise the overall brightness of the TV and still get dazzling HDR height highlights, perfect for those who tend to use the TV during the day. It's also the best-in-class OLED for just any type of gaming you could think of. It's very responsive as it has a very minimal input lag and doesn't feel like an afterthought from LG. And coming with 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs, the LG G4 supports up to 4K resolution at 120 Hz, along with variable refresh rate that also includes FreeSync and NVIDIA G-Sync certifications. AI processor does also make a noticeable difference, and the picture quality is truly impressive. So the Alpha 11 processor helps solve some LG G3 issues like the lack of HDR10+, and its not so good HDR colors. Plus, the new AI Director feature is actually a decent mode to help adjust colors for the content you're watching to look more like the director's intent. And while the audio performance is decent, with options like LG's AI sound feature, some might find the stock audio modes less impressive compared to higher-end sound systems. But if you can spend this much on a TV, we'd recommend pairing it with a soundbar to truly exploit these AI sound features. But that's everything that could be said on what are the best OLED TVs currently. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and leave a comment of what at least you like of any of these models we've talked about. We also reply to any questions, so put them down below and we'll get back to you. Hit that subscribe button if you're interested for more future TV content like this, and hit the like button so you always get notified for any new drops. But until then, stay safe and see you in the next video.